Have you or a loved one ever been considered boring? Especially in the context of romantic relationships. If so, I have the video for you. Just stay tuned. Okay, y'all know how we do. Don't skip past this part. Let's get into the beauty. First off, face. Everything is given timeless beauty because, I'm just one of one. People may think they look like me, or y'all may think people look like me, but I'm the only one that look like me. You know what I mean? Let's get into the earrings really quick. I know the fit is giving. All I gotta say is that but that's not what we're here to talk about. You know, if we were here to talk about that, we would be talking about another. This wouldn't be my channel, and we would be talking about other things that have nothing to do with what we're talking about right now. So if you're here to talk about or listen to me talk about what we're here to talk about right now, even though y'all can, join in on the conversation in the comments, of course. But let me just stop lollygagging and get into this real quick. Real quick, y'all know classes in session, turn to page 55. When you're too boring to date. I've already asked you the question, have you ever been considered too boring to date, or have you ever been basically have you ever been told this by another individual, especially somebody in the romantic context, just telling you that you're too boring to date, or that whatever excuse they came up with to project something onto you, to deem you not worthy enough to be in relationship with them. Because of course they don't want to take no accountability in it. Sometimes it's never them, it's you're boring, so you need to stop being boring. But I'm gonna get into the layers of that, just that you're boring or you're too boring or whatever. I'm gonna get into the layers of that and why somebody may say something like that. Let me look into the camera, but I like looking at myself at the same time. Like, I'm not like the camera for my focus. I'm gonna just look in the camera for today. So my experience with this, I've experienced this a few times, and I've heard I've expressed this to other people, and they could also relate. So I realized that this was something that was outside of myself. Like, I know, like, with most experiences we've noticed, especially with the rise of TikTok and social media in general, we've noticed that like a lot of our experiences aren't our own. So that's why I felt like, somebody else could see some value in a video like this, or me talking about this, or just telling my story as if it was like something really happened. Typically, I'm somebody that's a bit more shy at first, introverted, if you will. I think I hold on to that word introverted. Some of my friends may tell you that I'm extroverted, but I think I cling to that introverted title just because of my social anxiety. It's not the worst, but it's not the best, and I'm definitely getting better with it, especially after doing EMDR therapy and stuff. My social anxiety has gotten a lot better when it comes to doing social things, or being around socialness and having to talk to people and all of that kind of jazz. But it's still a little like, hey my self-consciousness has went in a negative way, has for the most part went down. I'm going to say down, I'm not going to say away, because it's always there. Irregardless, I'm a bit shy when I'm first meeting somebody or first getting to know somebody, and that's part of my own little toxic traits, or one of my red flags, if you will, or something that I'm not healed from. Because I've noticed in the past when this is from trauma, so I've noticed in the past when I, full-fledged show somebody myself, or show them who I am right off the bat, or like show them too much of my goofy side right off the bat, they tend to shy away from it. They tend to run away from it. And that may be from some of their own insecurities or their own things with themselves. Maybe they just don't like who I naturally am. But I have internalized that over the years. And so, or even since I was a kid, I kind of internalized that, just like trying to make somebody maybe trying to like make somebody like me. But I think it's more so just like I'm just shy in general. Just like I've always had that bit of anxiety when it came to meeting someone new, coming into a place. And that's like most kids, but I mean that followed me up into adulthood. Like I will speak and stuff, but like I'm not gonna feel comfortable as comfortable as y'all see me in front of this camera a lot of times. I'm not that comfortable when you meet me in person, especially for the first time, unless I'm just having a really good day and I'm just feeling really social or really extroverted that day. Most of the time I'm gonna be giving really chill, like really to myself, really observant, you know, because that's just who I am, and that's just what works for me and makes me feel the most comfortable in a lot of spaces. Something that just don't sit right with my spirit sometimes. Well, let me scratch that. I have tried to, you know, entertain possible suitors. I have not been on a date yet. Like, I have not been on a date yet, especially with a guy. Since I have been gay, and it has been for the past, 5+ years. I've always been gay, don't get me wrong, but since I've been out about being gay and pursuing, dating and pursuing talking to people, that has been the past 5 years. Yeah, the 5 years since I went to school, kinda college. I have not had a date, basically. But in me talking to different people and experiencing different men and talking to different guys and stuff, I just noticed that sometimes I come across this certain type of person that deems me boring. And I feel like a lot of times the ones that do this they show me early signs of narcissism, because I tend, especially in the past, I have tended to attract narcissistic suitors because, I don't want to get into all that, but you can, those who understand, you get it. So what they will do is they will either love bomb you or just trying to swindle you and trying to kind of get you in their web. But for me, I'm a very shy person at first. I'm not going to give you too much, and that's what they're banking on, to get a lot from you early on. That's why they love bomb you and all this and that, so that you be so forthcoming with yourself. But since I'm protective over my energy, and I'm not the fastest to present my whole self to somebody right off the bat,
right off the top, you gotta bring that shit back. Bring that shit the fuck back.
Right off, I'm an onion. Sometimes you gotta peel back the layers. Not saying that those layers are hard to peel back, just saying that they're there. And I think sometimes a narcissist will want you, they will feel entitled to that right off the bat, and that is the type of person I'm talking about that I have encountered. And typically when I'm quiet, a little shy, at first, especially in person, they deem me boring, or they see my interests, they see what I'm into. I tell them about what I do on a day-to-day basis, and I'm considered boring. And that, it's not it used to not bother me as much, but when it got to a point where somebody was saying that they couldn't talk to me, or that I was just so boring, to the fact that they didn't even want to entertain me, that's when I was like, okay, this may be a bit of a problem. And it made me internalize some things, and it made me look back on things that people have said about me in the past, and it just made me it made me question myself. Basically, it made me question myself and who I was, and I shouldn't have been made to feel like that, or I shouldn't have been made to do that or feel like I needed to do that, because essentially I just wasn't for that person. That doesn't necessarily mean that I'm boring, because I do a lot of stuff. I do a lot of adventurous things. I just don't do a specific sector of things a lot, and those a lot of times are social things, like going to the club, going out, being outside. I'm not one of those people talking about. And I'm a lot more mature, especially for my age at 23 in some aspects. So when they see that, and I'm not so chaotic, or not so social in that sense, they deem me boring. I can only guess I want to talk about getting ghosted as well. I feel like even when talking to somebody like off a dating app, just texting, like maybe calling a little bit, I have gotten ghosted in that aspect as well. And I think it's and that could also be because they may deem me as boring, like in the sense that I'm just not sparking interest in them enough to where they see enough in me, or they may have found somebody that caught their eye a little bit more, that sparked a little bit more for them. You know, the grass is not always green on the other side, but they may have thought that, so they ghosted me. Some of them came back or tried to come back. I'm rare to give second chances when people do stuff like ghosting me or something like that, but regardless, they ghosted me, and that's the real thing about it. I don't really know why they, you never know exactly why they ghost you unless they tell you. So I can't even say that they may have found somebody else. They may have been going through something, this, that, the other. At the end of the day, I was ghosted, and so I just feel like sometimes people do that because they want that excitement, or they want you to do 100% of the communication sometimes, or 100% of the carrying the conversation. And when you're not going above and beyond to carry the conversation, they get bored because they don't want to put nothing into it. They want you to put everything into it, or like spark, they want you to be the main conversationalist, or the main coming up with the most exciting things to talk about, or they want you to be speaking their language right off the bat. A lot of people don't like to let things fester and grow. Some people want that instant gratification. They want that instant like connection, like y'all been talking to each other for 50 years and y'all like the best of friends, like two old ass turtles, just like really good, close to each other. And that's just not where I'm at, Like, I will tell you things, like I'm very forthcoming about information about me. Like if you ask about my status, or if you ask about just my career journey or something like that, or just like the things I'm into, my hobbies or something, I'm very forthcoming with that information. But I guess I'm not chaotic enough, and that's what I want to get into next. Getting ghosted. A lot of people like to let me finish that point. A lot of people like to move too fast. And like I was saying, people don't like to let things fester and grow. People want that Instagram. I'm saying the same thing over again. Especially in the gay community. I don't know what it is. It's just, I think it's a bit of trauma, whatever. But I think a lot of us go so long without certain things, certain love and certain affection and all of that. So some of us tend to move into things a little bit too fast, or try to see something in somebody a little bit too fast, or try to read a little bit too fast into something. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're seeing red flags, leave. But if you're like still trying to figure somebody out, or like you feel like they're not as forthcoming about certain stuff, sometimes you just gotta peel back those layers with somebody. And that peeling back those layers, they shouldn't be hard, but it only comes with a factor of comfortability, and a factor of, also sharing things about yourself. Like, this is a back and forth. Like, I'm not finna just give you everything right off the bat just for you to, leave, or like waste my time or whatever. Like, I'm gonna let this grow. And I'm not one that moves really slow either. So there's the other part of that coin, the other side of that coin. Let's really get into the meat real quick, which is some people just love chaos. So you may not be boring. You may be a little bit boring, don't get me wrong. Like, my little jazz listeners, my little like very lo-fi people, very calm people, like stay in the house people, like minding my business people, like to themselves people. We are deemed boring sometimes, but essentially some people just like that chaos. And if you're not chaotic in that sense, or not toxic in that sense that they like, or don't show signs of that toxicity that they love and like, they're not going to be interested in you. And I can, from my perspective, I can say they may just like something that's a bit more exciting and vibrant and perky. But if you're just not that person, you're just not that person. And I can be very exciting, lively, and perky at times, but it's just like, that's not me 24/7. I'm not on go 24/7. That's my nervous system would fry. Like, I already have ADHD, and if I'm on go mode, if I'm on 10 24/7, which some people love that kind of stuff, I'm going to be burnt out just from being social and just from interacting with people. You know what I mean? Because it takes too much energy. And like I said, I'm pretty protective of my energy when it comes to the conversations that I like to give energy to, or the amount of energy that I'm going to expert at any given time, basically. I don't have the energy to be on go mode like that all the time. But I also feel like some people like that chaos. Like, I like chaos, don't get me wrong. I like a little chaos. Not in my romantic relationships, but I like a little chaos. Like, I like a lot of moving parts. I'll say like that. I like a lot of moving parts. I like a lot of, I like excitement and stuff just like everybody else. But I don't like negative chaos or bad chaos per se. Or chaos that, I like beautiful chaos. I don't like unpredictable chaos. I don't like violent chaos. I don't like a lot of obnoxious chaos, if you will. And so I don't express that either. Like, I'm a little bit, y'all didn't see me how I act. Some people just love the chaos, like I'm saying. And so some people want you to play out that and want you to, I feel like some people just want you to like play out a fantasy that they've had in their head of what they think a relationship looks like, or what they feel like an exciting, adventurous relationship should look like, something like on TV, like a fantasy or something like that, which, those things happen, but they come naturally. And I feel like a lot of people try to orchestrate these things in their lives and like try to force them to happen, and they don't realize that like when you do that like that, it's not going to be as organic, it's not going to be as enjoyable, and at the end of the day you're just going to be like not fulfilled like you were when you were whatever. And so with that, some people loving chaos and loving that toxicity, if you're essentially not that person, you're just not going to be the person for them. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or that you're boring per se. It's just that person likes that type of energy. They like that type of chaotic energy that you just essentially don't have. And essentially, even if it wasn't, even if they were to go for you, would you really want somebody that thrives in chaos? Would you really want that in your space, in your energy, your whatever? Would you really think about that? Like, truly, like, take a second to really think about that. Would you like somebody that thrives off toxicity and chaos and all of that? Would you like them in your life? Would you like them like in your space, in your physical space, in your energy, in your connecting with you sensually and sexually? Like, would you really want that energy on you? For me, I don't like it. And so that's why when somebody tells me I'm too boring, that's why it doesn't bother me anymore. It bothers me to a point, but it doesn't bother me to the point where I'm feeling like there's a deficiency with me in some type of way, because I just realized that is what they want. That is that is all them. That has nothing to do with me per se. That has nothing to do with whatever. Because for me to somebody else, I may be really exciting, I may be very out there, very adventurous and stuff, and they may like that aspect out of me. But this person may want somebody that's a little bit more in that sector, a little bit whatever. And that's just like not what I'm willing to give, and you may not be willing to give that to them, or you may not be willing to shed those layers so fast for them when you barely even know them, you barely even know their name. You may not feel comfortable with doing that, and you can't let somebody force you, and they can't force you to peel back those layers any faster or any slower than you want to at the end of the day, because it's your energy, is your life. You have to protect yourself. When somebody calls me too boring or something, I definitely take notes, and I would say you take notes too, because at the end of the day, although I'm saying there's nothing wrong with you, you could be a little boring, don't get me wrong. And I know I'm saying all this stuff to like validate us and validate you, but you could be a little bit boring. And let me expound, because if you are the type, See, now I'm reading y'all like I be getting read in a sense. But if you are the type that don't like nothing, or very anti everything, you're not that open-minded, you don't like this, you don't like that, and you're very closed off and cut off from new experiences and very whatever and very all of that, now I would say take notes on that, because when it comes to relationships and when it comes to either platonic or what's the other one called? Platonic or romantic, sometimes you have to give a little. You got to give a little bit. It's a exchange. It's a sacrifice in a sense. Like both of y'all may have to sacrifice a little bit of comfortability to be within something, and you not being open-minded to nothing that they want to do or nothing that they like or this that the other means that one, they're probably not the best person for you, but two, just like maybe you're a little bit closed-minded, and maybe that messing with some of your chances with some things. Like you may be missing out on some great people because you're so closed-minded and so into what you're into, and you don't want to learn things. You don't want to learn new things. You don't want to learn about new people. And so in that sense, since you're a little bit boring, I'm sorry to say it, but you're a little bit boring. And I'm judging you a little bit, but like at the same time, whatever makes you comfortable. I don't know what you've been through, I don't know your journey or whatever, but I will say, if you are seeking relationships in that sense that you want to be truly fulfilling, you're gonna have to give a little bit, because we're all different. We're not all the same. You may just find somebody that's exactly like you and like the same things and stuff, but you may be very fine with that. But me, I do enjoy a little bit of excitement. I do enjoy a little bit of unpredictability. I do enjoy a little bit of beautiful chaos. And with that, I can be very open-minded to things. Now, I have my boundaries and I have my things, my do's and don'ts. But I can be very open-minded to what somebody else's perspective is, or the things that the other person may want to do, and I'm open-minded to their interests, what they like. I'm not so just me. You know what I mean? So I would say take notes in that aspect, and truly assess and really dissect and really look at your past relationships and maybe why they didn't work. If somebody was calling you too boring, or if you were being too boring or too close-minded to everything, just kind of assess and look at that and just reflect. That's all I ask you to do on that aspect, on that point. And like I was saying, all of this, I feel like a lot of times this boringness, especially in your 20s, it comes from a place of you being too mature for them, one, or it comes from a place of you just not being into certain things, or you can be into those things, but you're not as into it, or you're not, you don't give them that toxic energy that they want. You may be a bit more conscious or mindful of yourself and your actions and how you treat other people, and they may thrive off of that chaos and that toxicity, because they may have some traumas within themselves that they haven't navigated. They may not have navigated and looked at why they like this chaos so much, why they thrive off this toxicity so much, even though it's not in the end it's hurting them, and they don't care about it hurting them at the end of the day. So somebody that's acting like that knows that this toxicity is hurting them in a sense, but they're along for the ride. They enjoy the impulsivity of it. They enjoy the short-termness of it all. Those are not the people that you want to be aligning with, because at the end of the day, I'm somebody that likes longevity. I go into things wanting longevity, and if I see that you don't want longevity, or if I see that you thrive off of chaos and stuff, that chaos that I just can't give you, especially not in the very beginning. Like, you may want my chaotic side, or you may want my hyperactive side, but if I'm not willing to give that to you on first link, and you upset because you feeling like that's that's got something to do with you to the point where if you feel like it's about you and it's really about me, like I'm just not comfortable with that, and I'm just like, I take my time to like get to know somebody and to get to show all my sides of myself. Or if you feel like you're entitled, that's the word. If you feel like you're entitled to someone acting a certain way around you when they're not comfortable around you and stuff, that says a lot about you and not about the other person. Maybe they're not boring. Maybe you just feel entitled to, people acting a certain way around you, and you take it personally when they don't be so forthcoming with themselves. They want to look into that. At the end of the day, continue being yourself. Like I said, take those notes. Like, I didn't just, get called boring and then just like, I'm not boring. And it's just like, because I'm constantly learning myself, especially in my earlier 20s. I am still learning stuff about myself. So I do take heed to what people say. I listen to what they say. That don't necessarily mean that I need to internalize it and like deem myself these things like I have done in the past. But I will take that information, especially if I've gotten it from multiple sources. I will take that information and I will assess. It's all a part of the self-reflection journey. That's all a part of that. So if I get to the end of my assessment and then I just realize like, no, it wasn't nothing wrong with me. Like, me being boring is not necessarily bad. Or in turn, you just like something that's chaotic or toxic. And I'm not that type of person. And I know that I'm not that type of person. And I know my morals. And I know what I like. And I know what I don't like. And I know that I don't want to be put on the sex offender list for having, doing sexual activities in public. I don't care. I don't care how boring you want to call me. I don't want to get put on a sex offender list. I know that this just came up. This just came up, but for the gays and the girls, especially my girlies out here that's being like a bit pressured or feeling like, or being put in a position like you're boring or something because you don't like public play, because you don't want to get put on a sex offender list. I will be boring all day. When it comes to the law, I will be boring all day. I will be boring all day because you're not about to get me to sacrifice my freedom just for an exciting, adventurous time with you. And like I said, a lot of times that boringness does come from a level of maturity. Like you may be a bit more tasteful or mature in the things that you like to do or the things that you enjoy. And it may not be something that, especially in your early 20s or 20s, it may not be something that 20s people typically do. 20s people are expected to typically be wild and like adventurous and making a lot of bad decisions and stuff. But you may be somebody that likes to play it a little bit safer, or you may be somebody that like sees the immaturity in that and sees the consequences of that, and you don't want to take on those possible consequences, and so you don't put yourself in those positions to reap the consequences of your actions. And so you know a little bit better, you know what I mean? And because you don't want to do those things, that doesn't make you boring. That just makes you cognizant, and that makes you mindful, and that makes you that means that you value your freedom and you value autonomy, because you don't want to go out here and do things to put it at stake. You don't like living on the edge, things that will put your life in danger, things that will put your livelihood in danger. And so in those aspects, call me boring. It's okay. I put it in my notes. I'm reading literally off my notes. It's okay not to live on the edge, basically. It's okay to be yourself. It's okay to not be into certain things, be open to certain things, but it's okay at the end of the day if you don't play into certain chaotic or toxic things. That doesn't make you boring. That just makes you who you are. And as long as your spirit is being brought peace at the end of the day, as long as you feel peace at the end of the day in your actions and what you decide to do and the people you decide to connect with, that's all that matters. it doesn't matter what this person thinks of you or what this person thinks of you, because at the end of the day, they just weren't for you. They weren't meant to be in your space. They weren't meant to connect with you. They're just not for you. And whether they have some healing to do, or they have some self-reflection to do, or they may not be on your level yet, that has nothing to do with you at the end of the day. You can't internalize what these people say to you, but always take notes, and like I said, be open-minded to what other people say to you and the things people say about you or whatever. Be open-minded to it, listen to it, but that doesn't mean you have to internalize it. Just use that on your self-reflection journey. Use that in your meditations to learn more about yourself at the end of the day. So then the next time it comes to somebody calling you boring, you can say, well, no, actually, especially given the context, no, actually, I'm not boring. We just don't align in that sense. I just don't like doing things that put my life in danger, that put my autonomy in danger, and I'm not saying going out and stuff like that puts you in danger in a sense, but like if you're just not that person, I may not be the person that's the most extroverted. I may not be the person that's going to give you all of my energy, all the sides of my personality right off the bat, because I do like somebody to peel back the layers, because I enjoy longevity. And if you don't enjoy longevity, and if you deem me boring and you feel like that's not something that you want, or you feel like I need to change myself in this instant because I'm too boring for you right now, then we maybe don't align, and maybe we don't need to continue this relationship. We maybe don't need to continue this conversation, because at the end of the day, I'm only going to move how I feel comfortable in this, because if I'm uncomfortable in the base level of this, that's already setting us up not to have that longevity that you're saying that you want, and that I know that I want. So yeah, for the best, if I'm just too boring for you, or you feel like I'm not vibrant enough for you or perky enough for you, that's fine. I just suggest you find somebody else, because I'm not gonna be forthcoming with all of myself right off the bat, because I don't know you. I just met you. And I do like having a good time, and I do like doing fun things, but I'm not gonna do those things too fast, and I'm not gonna be too impulsive with those things, because I have things that I care about. I have responsibilities that I need to take care of. And so, maybe I am a bit boring if I want to keep my freedom and I want to, whatever. But yeah, that was all, y'all. That was a long conversation to this person that y'all don't know, that I don't even know. I'm just talking to them. I'm conglomerating, or putting all the people together that has caused me boring, and I'm just talking to them just then. Maybe do that yourself. This is a journal entry. Reflect on the people that have called you bored in the past, and what you would have said differently to them in that moment that you wish you would have said, or with your gained knowledge now after watching this video, or like just through your journey, what you could have told that person, and say it in your journal. I feel like that would be beneficial. But yeah, hopefully this video brought some type of value to your life. Hopefully any of what I just said made sense. Hopefully I wasn't too repetitive, because I know I can be very repetitive sometimes, especially when I have a very niche and very pointed thing that I want to attack and talk about, and I may not have a bunch of notes on, so I'm trying to expand as much as I can, expound the conversation as much as I can. Hopefully I did that enough for y'all, and hopefully I wasn't too repetitive. Hopefully I got my point across. And yeah, let me know what y'all think in the comments. If you're somebody that typically calls people boring, or feel like people aren't exciting enough for you, or feel like you have encountered somebody like me or whatever, and you feel like I may be getting it wrong somewhere, let me know in the comments. Let me know your perspective. I'll say it like that. Let me know your perspective in the comments, because I am open-minded, because maybe I am boring in a sense. Maybe I'm not seeing maybe I have a blind spot for my boring parts, but I don't think I'm typically somebody that is deemed boring. I think I just typically am somebody that likes to play it safe sometimes, and play it safe in the parts where it counts. But I am open-minded to feedback. I am open-minded to your perspective or some things that you may have experienced and times where you may have called somebody boring. And I've told y'all the type of person that I consider boring in a sense. But yeah, let me know. Let me know. See y'all later.